Have you ever paused to wonder what really happens when we let go of physical intimacy in our later years? Not just the act itself, but the connection, the energy, the closeness. Does it simply disappear like teenage crushes or the thrill of a first kiss under the stars? Many believe that sex naturally fades after 60, 70, or 80, as if it's a chapter that closes once the hair turns gray and the joints start to ache. But what if I told you that belief is not only outdated, it's dangerous? What if stepping away from intimacy doesn't just affect your love life? It quietly steals your strength, your happiness, and even the sharpness of your mind. As a doctor who spent decades listening to, caring for, and learning from aging patients, I'm here to tell you something. I mean, most people won't. Sex isn't a luxury in your golden years. It's a lifeline, a quiet force that holds together more than just the physical. It supports your heart, your joints, your mind, and your emotional well-being. You may not notice the effects right away. Maybe you've been waking up more sluggish. Maybe the stairs feel steeper than before. Or your memory isn't quite as quick as it used to be. You might chalk it up to age, and yes, aging plays a part. But often what's really missing is deeper: the touch, the closeness, the hormones, the warmth of physical connection. Before we dive deeper into this eye-opening truth, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss important insights tailored just for you. And if this message already resonates, type 1 in the comments to let us know. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps us make every video more helpful, more real, more valuable for you. Now let's talk about the first organ silently affected when intimacy fades: your heart. 1. Your heart. Health suffers, quietly surprised. Most people are. You might think your heart only depends on blood pressure, meds, a decent diet, and a good night's sleep. But the truth is your heart. Yes, your physical beating heart relies on much more. Studies have shown that sexual activity acts as a gentle, natural cardiovascular workout. Even for seniors, regular intimacy improves blood circulation, lowers blood pressure, and helps keep the arteries flexible and strong. We're not talking about Olympic-level intensity. We're talking about connection, real human connection. Intimacy in your later years doesn't have to be frequent or intense, but it does need to be present. When touch, affection, and closeness disappear from daily life, the heart begins to lose one of its most natural forms of movement, stimulation, and calm. And that quiet loss, it can slowly lead to increased stress, higher inflammation, and greater vulnerability to heart disease. Imagine skipping your morning walk or ignoring your medication every day. Wouldn't you expect your health to decline? That's what happens when you neglect sexual wellness. It's not just emotional, it's deeply physical. And don't forget, the heart thrives on human warmth. Hugs, kisses, cuddles. These aren't silly gestures. They release oxytocin, a hormone that soothes your nervous system and protects your heart from stress. The takeaway: nurturing intimacy, especially as you age, isn't just about pleasure. It's about protecting the most vital muscle in your body, your heart. But your heart isn't the only thing at risk. Let's go one level deeper. 2. Muscles and joints quietly lose their vitality. When people think about preserving strength in old age, they often imagine gyms, weights, resistance bands. But one of the most overlooked ways to keep your body agile and your joints flexible, you guessed it, regular intimacy. Think about it: during intimacy, your body moves in ways that stretch, engage, and activate muscle groups you may not even realize you're using. From your core to your hips, from your back to your thighs, this type of movement supports balanced circulation and flexibility. And unlike structured exercise, it's something many people actually enjoy. The sad truth is, when intimacy fades, so does physical engagement. Muscles begin to weaken faster. Joints stiffen. The body becomes more prone to injuries and falls. It doesn't happen overnight, but slowly, without realizing it, you start to sit more and move less. You stop reaching, you stop stretching, you stop feeling confident in your own body. And once that confidence disappears, a dangerous cycle begins. Inactivity breeds more inactivity, and the more you avoid movement, the more difficult it becomes to regain it. But here's the good news: it's reversible. Even light intimacy can gently restore movement, boost circulation, and reignite a sense of physical presence in your body. It reminds your muscles and joints that they still matter and that they're still capable. Now, if you thought that was surprising, wait until you see what happens inside your mind. Chimari, your brain takes a quiet hit. We don't often associate sex with brain health, but maybe we should. When you experience physical intimacy, your brain releases a cascade of neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. These aren't just feel-good hormones. They're your brain's fuel. They boost mood, reduce anxiety, and keep memory sharp. Especially in later years, keeping the brain active is key to independence, confidence, and enjoy. Intimacy, whether through touch, conversation, or full physical connection, keeps those neural pathways alive and firing. Without it, the brain slowly loses stimulation. Emotional stress increases. Cognitive decline can creep in faster. And here's something important. The brain doesn't just crave puzzles or crosswords. It craves connection, emotional safety, the kind of closeness that makes you feel seen, accepted, and alive. Intimacy in many ways is the brain's most natural form of therapy. Neglecting it can dim your spark, drain your joy, and make each day feel more like survival than living. But there's another layer, perhaps the deepest one of all. 4. Emotional intimacy begins to fade with age. Emotional closeness becomes more valuable than ever. But when physical intimacy disappears, something subtle and sad often takes its place: distance. Couples who once shared passionate connection may begin to feel more like roommates. Conversations become short. Affection fades. The spark dims not because love has vanished, but because one essential ingredient is missing: physical closeness. Sex is more than an act. It's a language, a way of saying, I see you, I choose you, I still feel something powerful when I'm near you. Without it, even the strongest relationships can drift into quiet disconnection. That distance isn't always obvious. It may show up as less eye contact, less laughter, more time spent apart even in the same house. And for those without a partner, the absence of touch can feel even more profound. The body begins to forget what closeness feels like, and the soul begins to feel invisible. But the beautiful truth is this: it's never too late to reconnect, to reclaim your emotional closeness, to rediscover the touch, the warmth, and the joy that still lives inside you. So if you've ever believed that aging means the end of intimacy, think again. What if the decline in your energy, memory, strength, and connection wasn't just getting older, but a quiet cry for more closeness? In the next section, we'll uncover the psychological toll of long-term intimacy loss and how reclaiming this part of yourself might just be the most powerful health decision you make this year. Stay with me. As we explored earlier, the quiet absence of intimacy can slowly affect your heart, your joints, and your mind. But perhaps the most subtle damage is the one that happens inside, where emotions, self-worth, and connection begin to quietly unravel. Wash right in. Or loneliness in the relationships, the silent drift. That warm, secure feeling, the one that once made you feel desired, understood, and deeply loved, begins to fade. For many older adults, especially those in long-term relationships, the absence of intimacy doesn't always lead to separation, but it does lead to loneliness. And sometimes the loneliest place to be is lying beside someone who no longer touches you. You might still share meals, conversations, even a bed, but without emotional and physical closeness, something essential disappears. And loneliness, as it turns out, is not just a passing emotion. It's a serious health concern. Research now shows a strong link between chronic loneliness and real physical consequences, like high blood pressure, suppressed immune function, and even increased risk of depression. Emotional intimacy isn't built on grand gestures. It's rooted in the small, tender moments: touching hands, maintaining eye contact, a gentle hug, a shared laugh. These tiny acts build a bridge between souls. And sex, it's one of the most powerful ways to preserve that bridge. When physical connection vanishes, the emotional distance grows. Sadly, many couples don't even realize how far they've drifted until they feel more like roommates than lovers. But here's the truth: restoring intimacy doesn't just bring your hearts closer. It can also transform something most seniors struggle with: sleep. 5. Sleep becomes a struggle. As we grow older, deep, uninterrupted sleep becomes harder to come by. Tossing and turning, waking up frequently, or lying awake with racing thoughts, these are common complaints. But few people realize how tightly sleep and sexual intimacy are connected. After sexual release, the body produces prolactin, a hormone that brings on feelings of calm, contentment, and drowsiness. At the same time, the hormone oxytocin, often called the cuddle hormone, is released, reducing stress and promoting a deep sense of relaxation. For many seniors, sleep problems are treated with sleeping pills or over-the-counter remedies. But what if the solution was more natural and even enjoyable? When intimacy fades, these calming hormonal reactions fade with it. The body stays tense, the mind remains overactive, and sleep becomes a nightly battle instead of a peaceful surrender. If you've been waking up more tired than refreshed or struggling to fall asleep at all, ask yourself, could the missing ingredient be connection? Could touch, affection, or closeness bring back the restfulness you long for? And remember, poor sleep doesn't just affect your energy. It impacts your memory, your mood, your metabolism, your entire well-being. But it's not just your sleep that suffers when intimacy is neglected. Your sense of self, your reflection in the mirror, and the way you carry yourself all begin to change. 6. Self-esteem and confidence decline. Aging changes the way we see ourselves. Wrinkles appear, hair thins, muscles soften. But while these physical shifts are natural, one of the quietest blows to self-esteem comes from the loss of physical intimacy. When you're no longer touched, admired, or engaged in sexual connection, it's easy to feel invisible. The mirror no longer reflects the vibrant person you once felt. Inside, it starts to reflect someone who feels forgotten. Many seniors start believing that their best days are behind them, that being attractive, desirable, or sexually alive is something reserved for youth. But that belief, it's a lie. Physical intimacy is one of the most powerful emotional affirmations we can receive. It tells you without words, you still matter. You are still desirable. You are still alive. Without it, self-doubt begins to creep in. You might stop expressing affection, avoid looking at yourself in the mirror. Pull away from your partner, not because you've stopped loving them, but because you've stopped loving how you feel around them. Even light occasional intimacy reminds you that you're still here, that your body is still capable of connection, that your heart still beats with longing and warmth. And something beautiful happens when self-confidence returns. You stand taller, you smile more, your energy shifts, you begin to feel visible again, not just to others, but to yourself. But while self-esteem affects how you feel on the inside, the absence of intimacy can also have very real effects on your physical health, starting with your immune system. 7. Your immune system weakens. When we think of boosting immunity, we usually picture vitamins, green smoothies, hand sanitizer, or brisk walks. But there's a lesser-known protector of immune health that few people talk about: sexual activity. Surprising it shouldn't be. Regular intimacy, yes, even gentle, infrequent intimacy has been shown to increase levels of immunoglobulin, a IgA, an antibody that plays a crucial role in defending your body against illness. It doesn't stop there. Intimacy also helps balance hormones, reduce inflammation, and support healthy cellular function, all vital components of a strong immune system. But when intimacy fades, so do these protective mechanisms. Slowly over time, your immune system weakens. You might catch colds more often, take longer to recover from small illnesses, feel worn down without knowing why. The body doesn't send loud alarms, it whispers. And by the time you hear those whispers clearly, your immune defenses may already be compromised. Restoring intimacy, whether through touch, cuddling, or more, can quietly strengthen your inner defenses. It's one of nature's most beautiful, most enjoyable forms of preventive medicine. Still, there's one more consequence that cuts even deeper. One that affects not only your health, but your ability to cope with life's challenges. 8. Stress and anxiety increase as we age. The sources of stress change, but the weight of it can feel heavier than ever. Worries about health, finances, relationships, or losing independence begin to accumulate. And for many, stress becomes a constant companion. But what if you had a built-in stress relief system, one that's free, natural, and emotionally fulfilling? That's exactly what sexual intimacy offers. During intimacy, the body releases a wave of feel-good chemicals: dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. These hormones act like nature's antidepressants, calming the nervous system and promoting emotional balance. They soothe anxiety, lower cortisol levels, and help you feel safe, secure, and connected. Without that release, stress builds like pressure in a sealed jar. You may find yourself more irritable, restless, unable to concentrate. Maybe it shows up in your body: tight shoulders, jaw pain, frequent headaches. All because the one natural outlet your body craves, touch and connection, has been missing. The absence of intimacy doesn't just leave a void in your relationship, it strips your body of its most effective emotional safety net. You've now seen how the quiet loss of intimacy can ripple across your entire life, from your sleep to your confidence, your immunity to your stress levels. But there's still one more truth that few talk about, and it goes straight to the soul. In the next section, we'll uncover the final, most transformative benefit of restoring intimacy, how it can reignite a sense of purpose, joy, and vitality even after 60, 70, or 80. Stay with us. You won't want to miss it. Earlier, we explored how the loss of intimacy affects your stress levels, emotional resilience, and even immune strength. But the impact goes deeper, reaching into your mind, your memory, and your closest relationships in ways you may never have imagined. Let's begin with one of the most quietly devastating effects. 9. Relationships become more fragile. One of the subtle but most profound consequences of a fading sex life is what it quietly does to your relationship. At first, it may seem like nothing has really changed, but slowly and often, without either partner realizing it, emotional closeness starts to erode. Physical intimacy acts like a thread holding warmth, affection, and connection together. And when that thread weakens, so does the emotional fabric of the relationship. Couples who once shared laughter in the kitchen, playful glances across the room, or spontaneous touches may find themselves living more like roommates than lovers. Not out of anger, not even because love has disappeared, but simply because the way they used to show love has been lost. You see, sexual intimacy isn't just about the physical act. It's a language, a deeply human one, built on trust, vulnerability, and emotional bonding. When it disappears, communication often becomes mechanical or dry. Conversations shift from soul-nourishing to logistical. The warmth that once made the relationship feel alive slowly gives way to cold routines. And that's when something dangerous can settle in distance. Emotional neglect doesn't always come from cruelty. Sometimes it's just the silence between two people who have forgotten how to reach for each other. But here's a question worth asking. What if this growing distance could be reversed, not with dramatic gestures, but with a simple return to touch, to closeness, to intimacy? Because when you stop expressing love, even the strongest relationships can slowly lose their heartbeat. Still, the effects of a fading sex life don't end with your relationship. In fact, the next truth hits even closer to home because it's about your body and how it remembers. 10. The body forgets. Use it or lose it. It may be uncomfortable to admit, but the human body is built to respond to use. Just like muscles weaken when we stop exercising, your sexual function also begins to decline when it's no longer activated. For men, this might mean slower arousal, weaker erections, or a loss of sensitivity. For women, it can show up as increased dryness, discomfort, and decreased elasticity. But here's the catch: these changes don't happen all at once. They creep in slowly, silently. And before you know it, what was once pleasurable now feels awkward, even difficult. This creates a vicious cycle. Discomfort leads to avoidance, and avoidance deepens the problem. Over time, you may begin to feel like physical intimacy is just too much trouble. But that belief, it's not the truth. This truth is this: your body remembers, and it wants to stay alive, connected, and responsive. Staying sexually active, even in gentle or non-penetrative ways, keeps blood-flowing tissues nourished and your nervous system engaged. These aren't just biological benefits. They're part of what helps you continue feeling alive and whole. Neglecting this part of yourself may seem harmless in the short term, but the longer you go without that stimulation and closeness, the harder it becomes to return to a place of ease and comfort. It's not just your body that adapts, your mindset does too. And that brings us to a surprising truth: the most important sexual organ isn't what you think it is. 11. What you can do starting today. Regardless of your age, how long it's been, or what challenges you've faced, restoring intimacy is not only possible, it can begin today, right now. And the first most essential step: open communication. Talk to your partner, share what you're feeling, speak honestly about what you've missed and what you'd love to rediscover together. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the gateway to real emotional and physical reconnection. Facing physical changes. Don't be afraid to consult a doctor. There are effective, safe solutions for common issues like vaginal dryness, low libido, or erectile dysfunction. You don't have to suffer in silence. Help is available and it works, but you don't have to leap into full intimacy overnight. Start small, a touch on the shoulder, holding hands, a lingering hug. These simple acts of closeness send powerful messages to your brain and body. I'm still here. I still care. I still desire. If you're currently single, intimacy still belongs to you. Self-connection matters. Exploring what feels good for your own body, whether through self-touch mindfulness or even simple self-care, keeps you in tune with your physical and emotional needs. Stay curious. Stay patient. Allow yourself to learn again, not like a teenager chasing novelty, but like a wise soul rediscovering joy. You haven't outgrown desire. It's simply been waiting for the right moment to return, and that moment is now. Reconnecting doesn't mean perfection. It just means willingness. One touch, one shared moment, one vulnerable conversation at a time. 12. The truth about aging and intimacy. Here's what most people never say out loud. Aging is not the end of intimacy. It's the beginning of a deeper, more meaningful kind of connection both with yourself and with those you love. The absence of physical closeness is about more than what happens in the bedroom. It shapes your heart, your brain, your health, your sense of identity, your feeling of being fully, truly alive. But the truth, it's never too late to reclaim this sacred part of your life. You are still lovable, still capable of pleasure, still worthy of being desired, touched, and seen. Let go of the myth that intimacy is reserved for the young. You have energy, depth, and love to offer, and the world still wants it. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about honoring who you are now, choosing not to shrink from the mirror, not to withdraw from love, but to step forward with courage, with intention, and with the beautiful imperfection of being human. So if something inside you feels like it's been missing, don't settle. Don't wait. Reach for more. More joy, more connection, more life. Because the most meaningful years aren't behind you. They're waiting to be created with curiosity, grace, and a willingness to begin again. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned today that you're ready to apply in your life? Leave a comment below with a 1 if this message resonates or a 0 if it didn't. Either way, thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Here's to living fully on your own terms.